Gentlemen, what is going on today? My name is Ryan Mickler, and I am the host and the founder of the Order of Man podcast and movement. Welcome here. Welcome back. It's been a good ride. We've been in this thing for 6 years now, and the amount of traction that we've been able to make in that period of time is absolutely phenomenal, which, I like to claim some credit for it, but let's be honest, it's you. It's you as men listening, tuning in, banding with us, becoming the type of men we've been talking about for the past 6 years now, sharing the message, and just stepping up the way that you need to. So first and foremost, I want to say thank you. If you are new to the podcast, this is your Friday Field Notes. You get to hear from me for the next 20, 25 minutes or so on some topics that I've been thinking about from throughout the week. But of course, we've got our interview show as well, where we interview guys like Steve Rinella, Jocko Willing, David Goggins, Andy Frisilla. The men that come on are absolutely phenomenal. And it's my job to secure these guests for you and then take their education, experience, information, distill it down into a practical conversation that you can apply to your life. So that's what this one's going to be. We're going to be talking about avoiding burnout, because this is something that all men deal with. It's something that I've certainly dealt with, not only here with Order of Man, but other facets of my life. So we're going to get into that in a minute, because I have 5 tips that you can use in your life to avoid burnout yourself. But before I do, I want to make one other announcement. A lot of you guys know at this point that we just came out with Origin Beard Oil. So if you want a beard as glorious and beautiful and luscious as this beard here, then you got to have Origin Beard Oil. I was looking through the hot new releases for beard products on all of Amazon, and we looked at top 50, top 40, top 30, 2010, and lo and behold, Origin Beard Oil as of today is the #1 hot new beard oil release in all of Amazon. So if you've purchased any beard oil, if you've left a verified review, you've tried it out, you get value from it, I just want to tell you, I appreciate you. This is a project that I work closely with Origin on. They've done a wonderful, wonderful job putting together something that is 100% made and sourced in America. In fact, it's the people here in Maine, my neighbors right down the road, that are shipping this stuff out. And we have factories here in the US, and it's pretty incredible what we've been able to do here with this beard product. So again, if you're interested in supporting a 100% made and sourced in America company and a manufacturing company, then make sure to check out Origin Beard Oil on Amazon. And if you pick up a bottle and leave a review, a verified review, and then email a screenshot of that review to promotions@originmfg, promotions@originmfg.com, they'll go ahead and send you a free bottle. So there you go. That's my announcement. All right, guys, let's talk about avoiding burnout. This is something all men deal with. Things don't always go according to plan. Results take longer than you think they will. You get tired, you get run down, you get beat up. This is part of life. And I don't want you to be burned out on any facet of your life, whether it's your fitness journey, the relationship that you have with your wife or anybody else for that matter, a business that you might be engaged in, a career endeavor or pursuit, a hobby, whatever. I don't want you to be burned out. And I don't want you to be burned out because often the results come after the average person, the majority of people probably do burn out. And then we wonder why we're not experiencing the results. Is it because possibly we have burnt out before we yield the benefit, the blessing, the outcome of our work up to that point? So we're going to break this down. We're going to talk about why you should avoid burning out, and more importantly, how to avoid burning out. So let's just jump right into it. Again, 5 points for this. Number 1, the first point is don't burn all of your fuel at once. Right? A lot of you guys are coming out of the gates on fire, screaming. You're so excited about the new program, the new diet, the new relationship, the new business venture, the new project, whatever it is you're doing. And you burn all of your fuel at once. And when all of that fuel is burned up, you have absolutely nothing left in the tank. And so you quit, you throw in the towel, you realize that you don't have the same level of interest, or that it has become difficult or demanding, or it isn't what you expected. And so you don't have any more fuel left to drive on with what it is that you want to drive on with. I get it. I understand being excited. I understand being hopped up, but understand that the results that you desire are going to take a long time, and it's going to take a lot of effort. And you need to know that if you burn it all up right at front, and I know a lot of guys like this. I don't happen to be one of these guys, but these tend to be more of your emotionally charged people, right? They're so motivated, they're so excited, they're so inspired at this moment in time that they burn up everything because they can't think about what's going to happen in a week or a month or 6 years. Like we've been going here with Order of Man, they think about what's happening right now. And that's an emotionally charged response. And by the way, I don't say that as a negative, the concept that we use our emotions. I know a lot of people do. And a lot of people interpret what isn't meant to be interpreted as something negative, but they interpret it negatively. I'm not suggesting you don't be emotional. I think you should use emotions as a metric, not the only metric, but a metric for the direction in your life. But if your fuel is emotionally charged, that burns hot and it burns quickly. And then when all of that is gone, there's nothing left. There's no logic, there's no reasoning, there's no grit, no determination behind that. You got to have some other, if we're using the analogy of fuel, some other denser, longer lasting, longer burning fuel than the emotion of being excited. So you can be excited, but don't come out of the gate swinging. Figure out, okay, I'm in this thing for the long haul. I got to keep myself in this thing and figure out how to do that. Number 2, mix things up. All right. Some of us get so monotonous, so mundane. We wake up at the same time every day. We do the same exercises. We go through the same routines. We attempt to solve the same problems. We send out the same emails, and everything is always the same. This is actually what gets me out of all the points that I'm sharing with you today. Number 1, again, was don't burn all your fuel at once. That's not something I struggle with. Number 2 is I just get bored. I get bored if everything is always the same. So how do you avoid boredom? Is you mix it up. Take a new route to work, do a new workout routine, practice a different martial art, have a different kind of conversation with your wife, take your family on a vacation or to a place that you've never gone before, solve a different problem at work. Now, one thing I will say is that you can mix things up too much and you can start deviating from your path. So, for example, if you're trying to start a new business and you're trying to solve problems for men, like we are here with Order of Man, and all of a sudden you start solving problems for women, okay, well, then that actually doesn't fit within your objective and you're detracting from what you could be doing. Yes, it will be more interesting, but it's not going to move the needle. So instead of changing your demographic or changing what it is you're trying to do, you change the way that you approach it. So you're still trying to solve the same problems. That is, in this case, helping men, equipping them, empowering them with what they need to thrive, but we do it in a different way. So one of the ways that we've done it here is initially we did the interview podcast that comes out each and every Tuesday. And because I get a little bit bored with the same thing over and over again, we came out with a second show and then a third show. And now we have the Ask Me Anything. We have your Friday Field Notes. This is part of the way that I've avoided being burned out because we're still solving the same problems, but we're going about it in a different way. Another way that we've done that is we brought merchandise in. That isn't something we always did, but it solves a problem. It helps funding with the movement. It gives guys great looking gear that they're going to use and wear and be proud to wear because it has a meaning and purpose behind it. And it's fun. I enjoy the design element. I enjoy growing the store. We've also done this with live events. It wasn't enough for me to have the digital conversations that we've been having specifically in our exclusive brotherhood, the Iron Council. I wanted to do events live. So we did a men's event with 20 guys. And then we did a father-son event because I wanted to mix it up. And we did that with 40. Was it 40? Yes, 40. Well, it's 20 fathers and 20 boys. So 40 total attendees. And then we did the main event, which we had 70-ish people there. And the next one we'll have 100 people there. But we're continually mixing things up because I don't want to get bored and I don't want to burn out and I don't want things to be so monotonous and the same every day because that would just drive me nuts. And this is most people. They chase what's exciting. So they'll bounce from place to place, from work to work, relationship to relationship, exercise to exercise, when we know it's been proven that the results come through sustained effort. So continue to solve the same problems, but the way that we solve those problems is going to be different. And that's what's going to help you avoid the burnout that maybe you would if you were doing the same things over and over again every single day. All right. Number 3, you got to set up realistic expectations. Okay. You have to set up realistic expectations for you, for other people, for the scenario that might be playing out. Because again, most people think that the results are going to come quicker than they actually will. And in my experience, the results that I'm after tend to take longer. I'm not as effective as I could or should or would like to be. And so I have to set realistic expectations that this is not always going to be an exciting ride, that it's not always going to happen overnight, that I'm going to have to be in this game for years and years and years in order to produce the results that I'm after. When I started this podcast, I deliberately and intentionally, and I can remember vividly telling myself that I will not make a decision as to whether or not to throw in the towel or keep going with Order of Man and the podcast for at least 2 years. That meant I would get over 100 episodes in the bank, published, released, before I even contemplated, even considered not doing it. And we know that I was way more excited well ahead of 100 episodes into the first 5 or 6 or maybe 10 tops episodes. I knew we were onto something big here. So it didn't take that time frame. But look, if you're expecting the results, if you're expecting to have the 6-pack abs in the next week, but you spent the last decade on the couch, you're going to fail. You're going to quit because you don't have or won't meet your expectation. If you think that after 2 decades of not leading your wife and your family and your children well, that all of a sudden, if you tell them, well, I'm listening to this podcast and I'm waking up early, so what's your problem? If you think that's actually what's going to move the needle in your relationship, that's the expectation you have. When it doesn't happen by your standard, by your clock, you're going to quit and you're going to revert back to your old ways, which we know were not producing the results that you want. So let's lower the expectations for others mostly and the scenario, not for yourself. Hold yourself to a high standard, but I don't think we need to place unrealistic expectations on circumstances, and we certainly shouldn't be placing them on others. So lower the bar for those individuals and those scenarios and what it will take. Increase the standard for yourself by doing some of these other things like mixing it up, not burning all your fuel at once, that sort of thing. But this is very important that we make sure we have the realistic expectations in place, which, by the way, actually marries nicely with point number 1, where I said, don't burn all out at once. Again, the guys who are emotionally charged, who are really hopped up and motivated right now, are burning that high octane fuel that just doesn't last. Those people usually don't have realistic expectations. Imagine this. Here's a great way to look at it. Imagine I came to you and I said, hey, I want to, let's play football. You're going to get your best guys together. I'm going to get my best guys together and we're going to play a game. But here's the deal. I'm not going to tell you how long the game's going to last. So now you're left with trying to decide, do I put all my best players in? Do we go 1,000 miles an hour, hoping that the game doesn't last very long? Do we underplay for the first little while, thinking that maybe the game is going to last a long time? The thing is, we don't know, right? You don't know what's going to happen in your relationship. You don't know what's going to happen in your business. These things are largely the result beyond your control because there's a lot of things that move and there's a lot of scenarios and things that are outside of our control. You don't know that. And so you're basically playing a game that you're not really aware of how long it will last. So how do you strategize? How do you plan for? Well, if it were me, I would plan on being in the thing forever. How can I sustain myself and my results and my effort, more importantly, forever until I die? And that's actually how I look at it with this podcast. I don't have to think that I need all the results immediately. I actually know with every fiber of my being that we will ultimately achieve the success that we're after. I know that it's already a reality. It's not a reality. It's already potential. It just is what it is. And all I have to do is just keep myself in the game long enough for that to happen. And that doesn't mean I'm just kind of going through the motions. No, I told you earlier, I mix things up. I change things up. I look for new problems. I look for new ways of providing solutions to those problems for men. I keep it in the same vein, but I mix it up. And because I know that I'm going to be in this game for the rest of my life, there's no exit strategy here, then I can do the work and just have faith that it's going to play out the way that it should. All right. Number 4, here's something you need to consider. There's going to be parts of certain elements of your life, whether it's a business, mostly business, I would say, and some of your personal things, where you just don't enjoy doing them. You know, with this podcast, I don't enjoy editing podcasts. I don't enjoy long, drawn out meetings to talk about the back end finances and all the little minutia and details that need to be thought about and considered as we continue to grow this movement. I don't like doing that stuff. I realize the importance of it. I realize why it needs to be done, but I don't like doing it. But if I force myself to do it, I'm going to burn out. I can do it for a while. We don't edit our podcast anymore. Cody Lanham does a wonderful job editing the podcast. I have a CPA who handles the tax ramifications. I have people in the right places to do the things that not only am I not good at, the things I don't want to do because they suck all of my energy, time, and attention. And if you're focused on all of the things that you hate doing 90 to 100% of the time, is it any wonder why you burned out? No, of course not. You know exactly why you burned out, because you were miserable, and you shouldn't be miserable. We can be miserable for a little while, and I have. There's times within this movement where I wouldn't say miserable, but not enjoying elements and parts of it. So I've delegated those responsibilities out. I ensure they still get done, but I delegate them out to people who find value in doing that kind of work and get energized from doing that work. It just isn't me. I know it needs to get done. I don't have to be the one to do it. And if you want to avoid being burned out, even at home on the home front, imagine if you did all of the chores around the house, everything, vacuum, dusted, put away dishes, cleaned up after everybody, took care of the yards, took care of the house, did all the repairs, like everything. That would burn you out. Same thing, by the way, with your wife, guys. If she's doing it all and you don't contribute around the house, she's going to burn out. A lot of you guys ask, well, you know, my wife, it just seems more like a roommate. Yeah, because maybe you guys are treating each other like roommates. You're not helping each other out. You're letting that other person do everything, and then that person's just burning out, of course. Don't allow that stuff to happen. Again, we can delegate some of these things out. We can share responsibilities. My wife, for example, doesn't want to handle the finances within the family dynamic. No problem. I'll handle that. And she can handle the cooking is actually one of her roles. I hate cooking. I despise it. And every time I say that, somebody's like, well, it's probably because you're not doing it right. If you grilled on the Traeger grill, or you learned this technique, or then no, I don't like cooking. I find no value in it. I find no joy in it. I find no meaning in it. I just do not enjoy it. My wife, however, loves it. She actually views it as a gift of love. It's how she expresses that to a degree. So she's good at it. So she's the one who does the cooking. And I do other things around the house that she doesn't enjoy, like the family finances. So we delegate those things out. We stick to our strengths. We stick to the things that energize us. We ensure the other things get done, and then we're less likely to burn out. So that's point number 4. And then the last one, guys, and I've been talking about this for a long time, but you got to find ventilation outlets. You have to have an outlet that has nothing to do with your endeavor. So if you're knee deep or neck deep in your business and you want it to grow and you're trying to get it off the ground, a lot of people will be tempted to put everything, all of their time and energy and attention and every little bit of resources they have into that venture. And while I can appreciate that, it's a mistake to do that. This is how we burn out. So you need to find an outlet, find a hobby, skill development, an activity, a friend, a conversation. Maybe you like reading novels, or you like painting, or you like spending time with your friends golfing or at the game. I don't know what it is for you, but I'm giving you permission, as if you needed it, to have a healthy outlet so that you don't pour every ounce of your being into your business or into your relationship or into whatever project you're working on, because I want you to actually get it done and completed. It's a little counterintuitive, right? I'm telling you, in order to stay in the business, you have to actually get out of the business for a little bit. It's counterintuitive, but it works. You need to be able to rejuvenate and recharge and rest the mind, rest the body. And when you do that and then come back in within reason, you don't want to be doing that forever, obviously, but you do that for a time and a period, and you're intentional about it. And then you come back into the business or the venture or the relationship or the project or the whatever, you're going to be that much more effective. So this is how I've avoided burnout over the past 6 years now. We've been doing, well, as from a podcast perspective, we've done over 700 podcasts now over 6 years. So that's an average of, it's probably 2.5 to 3 podcasts per week for the last 6 years. How can I do that? How can anybody do that? How can guys work out every single day for the last 2 decades? How can a man be committed and married to one person for 40, 50 years? How is that possible without burning out? This is how. This is how. I want you to stay in it. That's where the results happen. The results aren't going to happen immediately. And you know what? Even if they do, they aren't lasting. And you don't even have a formula. It just miraculously worked out. I want a formula. I want to know what works. I want to know what makes a person successful on every front, systematically formulated, so that I can just duplicate it. That's what I'm after. I just want to duplicate and replicate the result over and over and over and over. I want to plug into the system. And this is the system for avoiding burnout. So let's recap these things. Number 1, don't burn all of your fuel at once. I know you're excited. I know you have a new girlfriend or you're married, and I know you're excited and you want to spend every minute and all of your time and energy and attention on her. I get it. I understand. I've been there. It's a mistake. I know you're starting a new business. And so you think you got to pour everything into it and all of your energy and your enthusiasm. It all has to go in there. I get it. But the emotional fuel you're burning burns hot, no doubt, but it's not efficient and it's not long lasting. The fuel you need is something that burns maybe not as hot, but a little bit longer, a lot longer. All right. Number 2, mix things up. Again, working towards the same solution. So here's a silly example. If you were talking about not burning out in a relationship, when I tell you that you should mix things up, I think it's safe to assume that I'm not saying go step out on your wife. Sure, that would be mixing things up, but that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about mixing things up, but staying in the same vein. So if it's in a relationship, you're still honoring your commitment to your wife, but you're going to mix it up by going on a different date night or having a different activity, or you having a little bit of free time with the friends and her having free time with her friends or her family members, or whatever it may be. Okay, so you're still solving the same problems. If we're talking about a business, here's an example with Order of Man. I'm not going to start Order of Women, although I do have a lot of women I know who reach out and want something like this for themselves. I get it, but that's not going to be me. I'm not going to be doing that. But I am going to continue to solve problems creatively, different ways of going about the same problems here with men, because that's who we focus on and that's who we serve. Number 3, set your realistic expectations. You don't know how long it's going to take. You don't know what's going to happen. It's probably going to take longer than you think. You're probably not as good or as effective as you think you are. That's the reality. So plan accordingly and become robotic and know that you're going to have to be in this game for the long haul. And when you set it more realistically like that, you're able to keep yourself in the game longer. Because if you think it's going to take 2 weeks, at day 15, you're like, well, what the hell? How come I don't have the 6-pack? How come my wife still doesn't trust me? How come I'm not making 7 figures a year? It's been 15 days. What gives you the right to think that should happen for you? Now, many of you do. It takes significantly longer. It's taken me 6 years to get us specifically with Order of Man. And then another decade before that, longer, probably 15 years before that, to actually get me to the point where I could even start Order of Man. It takes a long time. So be realistic about that and deal with it. Number 4, delegate the duties and responsibilities that don't energize you, uplift you. Certainly when you're starting in a business, for example, you're going to have to do it all, but delegate that stuff as soon as possible so you can focus on the things that keep you energized and keep your ass in the game. And number 5, find your ventilation outlets. You got to vent. And I'm not saying get the problems off your chest. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to have an outlet beyond whatever you're vested in. And there's another benefit of this, guys. When you go do other things, you read different types of books. By the way, that you should be doing that. Here's a mistake that I've seen a lot of guys do. They'll start a business like I did, and then they'll read every damn self-help book, listen to every podcast on that subject matter, and you just consume yourself with that one thing. That is a recipe for disaster. Read a different book, read a novel, watch a different movie, pick up a different hobby or skill. The one I'm working on now, and you guys have all heard about this, is the canoe. I've had guys say, well, I wish I could build a canoe and do woodworking. Well, yeah, you can. Like, I don't have any knowledge or experience in building a canoe, but that's how you get knowledge and experience. You do it. But that's completely unrelated to anything else. It's still in the same vein though, right? Because I talk a lot about fatherhood and being engaged with your kids and working with your hands and learning new skills. So it's still in the same vein, like I talked about earlier, point number 2, I believe, but it's something different enough that it just unplugs me from everything else that I'm inundated with on a daily basis. So again, finding ventilation outlets. So that's it, guys. That's your 5-step formula for ensuring that you do not burn out. I don't want you to burn out. I want you to experience results, and it takes longer than we think it does. And it requires more effort than we think it will. And we're not as good as we think we are. So plan accordingly so we can keep our butts in the game and ultimately experience the result in your relationship with your wife and kids and friends, your career aspirations, your business pursuit, your health and fitness goals, every facet of your life. Do not burn out. Implement these 5 strategies, and I think you'll have a better chance. All right, guys, that's all I've got. We'll be back next week. Until then, go out there, take action, and become the man you are meant to be.